TG Geeks, episode 68, April 11th, 2016. Comics to Comedians. Hello and welcome to another webcast from tggeeks.com, where Ben and Keith, the Two Gay Geeks, talk about all aspects of geekdom and nerdery. Sci-fi, comics, film, horror, genre, you name it, we talk about it. I'm Keith Lane, and we're coming to you from dripping wet TG Squared Studios in El Nino, Phoenix, Arizona.
And I'm Ben Raggington, also coming to you from a place where it looks like it's anything but lovely Phoenix, Arizona.
Yeah, the animals are walking 2 by 2. Okay, we have kind of an interesting little episode for you this week, so let's just get right to it.
Well, Saturday.
Saturday, this past weekend,
April 9th, we had the opportunity of going up to Cottonwood, Arizona, which is in Verde Valley. That's not exactly northern Arizona. It's more like central, I would say.
North central.
North central?
Yeah, more north.
More north than where we are.
Yeah.
That's for darn sure.
Yeah.
A little area called Cottonwood, little town, very quaint in the Verde Valley, and we found out about this little comic expo, and we thought we'd give it a little look. You contacted one of the programmers.
Yes, Ann Roberts from the Cottonwood Public Library, and so we just found out about it on Friday, and then we decided to drive up Saturday, and she said, "Oh, sure, come up," and so we.
And they set up press credentials for us too, right?
So
I mean, it was like, wow, they were more than happy that we agreed to come up.
Absolutely, and it was a great time. We went up there, and they had a really nice little setup in the Cottonwood Recreation Center, which is across the street from the library. It was a nice room. It was a little crowded, but it was not too bad, and this was their second outing.
Yes, exactly. Their first outing was just something they did like 6 months ago in a church.
Yeah,
and it was all for charity.
Yeah, fundraising for the church, and this was actually fundraising for the library's summer reading program. So $5 to get in, and it was great. I don't know. I would imagine they had, by noon, they said they had 150
about 100 or 150 people had come through.
Yeah, so I figure by, 5 o'clock, they probably had 500 people. So
I would imagine easily. And what I think was very impressive was just the sheer number of people that would identify themselves as geeks in some fashion or another, either in some sort of product that they were creating.
Yep.
Vendors. There were some vendors,
yeah.
and lots of cosplay.
Yes, it was amazing how many cosplayers there were.
Some really good ones too.
Absolutely, yeah. We had a Lone Star Trooper and a Star Wars character, and
it was a
little bit of this and a little bit of that. But we have
lots of it
on the website. We've got photos of the cosplayers, and it was actually started by Jan-Mark Quisenbing, also known as Janimal.
Yeah.
And he started the Northern Arizona Cartoonists Association, and we have a little interview with Ann and Janimal, and we're going to play that right now. And forgive us for the horrible.
We were doing it at Janimal's table, and it was just loud.
And it was just right after the thing opened, so forgive the background sounds and the poor audio, but it's the best we could do. I've fiddled with it for about an hour on this 6-minute spurt we have here, so here we go.
Hello, this is Ben Raggington with the Two Gay Geeks, and I'm here in Verde Valley at the Comic Expo. I'm speaking to
Ann Roberts.
the Janimal. Janimal?
Yes.
Okay, I gotta ask, where did that name come from?
There's a horrible Rob Schneider movie from like 2000 called The Animal.
and we were in college, and a friend said, "Oh, Janimal," and it's been 16 years of that nickname.
Nothing wrong with that. Okay, so again, I said I'm here in Verde Valley, and it's a comic expo, and I'm sure the first thing that's going to be running through people's minds is, where's Verde Valley? Well, it's somewhere in the middle of Arizona, but Verde Valley, that's not like Flagstaff or Tucson or Phoenix. I mean, what could people think might actually happen at a comic expo in a little tiny place called Verde Valley?
So when I moved here from New Jersey, August 2014, I thought I was the only one out here. I thought I was a magical unicorn, which is a very popular phrase now at the jail, I was told.
Yes.
And I met other like-minded creators out here, and we just talked about, hey, we should do some kind of event, and we formed the Northern Arizona Cartoonists Association, and it's to just foster talent for people who they want to draw, they want to write, but they don't know what to do with it. And we had a show in October at a local church that went really well. And in the spring, we thought, well, let's try this. I'm very good friend to Anne. I asked her, hey, does the library ever fundraise? Would you want to do something like this? And that's where we are today, and my mind is blown.
Absolutely, Glenn. And like Janwell said, this is a fundraiser for the summer reading program for our library. So we're really excited at the turnout. We've got so many fabulous artists and cosplayers and comic book stores with their wares. So we're just excited to be here. We've got an art store here. We've got some great raffles going on, so it's going to be a lot of fun.
So being that this is the first one of this type, springtime, and of course now you've got the library, and it's of this size, how were you able to find the talent to actually, shall we say, show their wares here, either in terms of artwork or anything? I mean, this is so far, even though it's just in this one room, I'm seeing a very impressive turnout. How were you able to reach out to these people, and how were you able to get them all?
It's a very small community, I've learned, and one of my friends, Dave Beatty, who worked for DC and Marvel, we met and we were talking, and he knows people and I know people, and then we met the same people, and he just said, hey, look, so we're doing this thing at the library on Saturday. Are you free? Can you come up? And people said yes. And so October was the first test of it, seeing, well, how will it go? And even though it was a very small group of artists, it went really well. The church did raise $800 to send some pizza to winter camp. So we said, okay, this went well. Let's see if we can find another venue that's bigger. Let's see if we can get even more people. And you ask them, and they will come.
So, putting this together, how long did it take to organize this event? Because so far, like I said, I'm quite impressed with what I'm seeing thus far.
I believe it took us about 4 months to get this all pulled together, between getting permits from the city, getting the space from the rec center, coordinating everything with the library and the artists. I think it took about 4 months.
You've got some programming that is going on here as well. What kind of programming? Because I'm sure a lot of people think, we're at Cottonwood. That's exactly where we're at. The little tiny town of Cottonwood. And I'm sure people are thinking, Cottonwood, programming, what could you possibly have to offer? So, who wants to take that one?
I'll take it. Okay, so today we've got several panels going on. We've got the Northern Arizona Cartoonists Association doing an introduction panel where all the artists are going to come and introduce themselves. We have Tom Filsinger of Filsinger Games. He's going to do a presentation on some of the games that he has for sale on the market. At 1 o'clock, we've got the Occupants film. We're going to show some clips and talk about how they're making that movie into a comic book. And then we're having How to Create Comics panel by Dave Beatty. He's going to talk a little bit about what it takes to actually get the industry to get a book published. And then the final panel will be an artist draw-off where people can sit in the audience and say, hey, draw Flash, hey, draw Superman, hey, draw Rocket Raccoon. They're going to do their best to fill that order.
I'm kind of intrigued by all of this. So, based on what I'm seeing now, because right now it's just a little bit after it's open, what has been the reception so far? Were you able to gauge what the reception would be based on attendees? Did you have any kind of idea how many people were going to attend before the event started?
We have no idea. We were just hoping that somebody would show up, but it's had such a huge, tremendous response from the community. I think it's going to be a lot busier than we even hoped.
So, obviously, this is turning out to be, it looks like it's going to be a successful event. Where would you like to see this go for the future?
So, the rec center has a really big gymnasium, and I'd like it to be in there. It's a very different thing to have in this area. Every year, to have 2 shows a year in this area is great for the community. My big thing with I teach a drawing class for kids, and art is always the first thing that's taught in a school program. And I want kids who like to draw, who like to write, to show, like, look, this is something fun that you can do, and to come out and meet the artists who do this professionally and learn that, I can draw this and I can make something from it. So just education is one good thing, and the fact that just making something a destination where people will want to come up, like, come up for the show and then enjoy the Verde Valley.
I like what I hear, and I would recommend that for anybody who's in the Arizona area, if you're around here, the next time the Comic Expo is taking place in Cottonwood, I would say definitely come, because I like the causes that you guys represent. I love the idea that you're getting kids to read. I love the idea of creative arts in terms of an education. So I just want to say to the both of you, thank you very much. And for the Two Gay Geeks, this is Ben saying cheers for now.
And that was, once again, sorry for
God,
the
that was
terrible
dreadful.
audio quality. It was it was very loud in there.
Well, and if I sounded kind of off in my Q&A-ing, shall we say, because it was so loud, I could not even think in that room.
Yeah, it was.
And I'm not saying that's a bad thing.
No,
it was just there was so much energy, and so many people were in there.
And because it just opened too.
Yeah.
So we went to the Northern Arizona Cartoonists Association panel that they had, which featured Dave Beatty, Janimal, Danny Roberts, Daniel Franks, and
Russ.
Russ? No, Russ wasn't.
Yeah, Russ was sitting in there too.
Well, I guess he was.
Yeah, he was sitting in there.
Oh yeah. So
Russ Kazmierzak.
Yush. Anyway, hopefully I didn't butcher that name too bad. Anyway, so we did that panel, and after that panel, it kind of was a little more calm, and we had an opportunity to talk to a female creative.
Yes, we were rather intrigued with this
so
young woman, because you normally don't meet a lot of women in the comic book industry. So, and this interview is a little embarrassing, because I didn't want to approach her because she was a novelty, but I approached her because she was a novelty.
Anyway, so we did a little interview. We kind of stepped outside the room there and into the hallway. So this one, the audio quality is much better. So let's listen to this interview with Des Demise.
And again, this is Ben Ragginson from Two Gay Geeks here at the Comic Expo in Cottonwood, Arizona. And I have the pleasure of now speaking to
Des Demise.
And what is it that you work on?
Well, I'm a writer and creator for a book called The Creation, which is dark fantasy, and it's published through Pronto Comics, which is an indie company from New York.
We've seen a lot of change in the comic book / publishing industry. Have you found it, today's society or today's publishing culture, has it become a better place for someone who wants to get their content out there? Is it easier today to do that than, say, maybe 10 or even 15 years ago?
I believe so. I think there's a lot, there's much more, indie publishers and stuff like that, like, wanting to have people's, work out there. Also, there's self-publishing, and, I believe like now is like a really high peak of any comics or like, things like that. And so I think, it's easier for people to get into it, like, and, expand their work now than I believe like maybe like 10, 15 years ago.
Now, no offense, but you're the first female comic book artist that we've ever encountered. Is the industry primarily male driven? Because I mean, obviously, geekdom is very strong with the female community. So, how hard was that for you in terms of breaking any kind of gender stereotypes, possibly?
Well, I know like there's a lot of because I live in California, and there's a lot of women creators. I personally haven't like got to meet any. It's mainly like males, but I think that I gotta say, like, with the whole, I think there's a lot more like female like cosplayers and stuff like that. But like here, I haven't got to walk around yet, so I don't know if there's any other female creators or anything like that. But it's it wasn't really too hard for me, but at the same time, like, you know, it's in such a like a industry that's really strict, not like strict, but strong with just, you know, that male genre, I guess. That being a woman, it actually does have its perks, you know. Like, you're just like, oh, like, you know, there's a lady here, let's, you know, talk to her or like see what she has. But I think for a lot of things, with like writing and everything, I think people will get that like, oh, you know, she's a girl, you know, like she's gonna write like some princess thing or something like that. But you know, I think there's always that kind of stereotype thing too as well.
So how long have you been working in the industry? And for anybody who wants to know what your product is all about, what can you tell them?
Okay, well, I would say like I want to say 5 years. I've always been writing, but like with I'm just gonna range like maybe around 5 years. But with the book I have, The Creation, it's a dark fantasy story, and it's about a sorcerer kind of evil guy who creates this being to control to help him do his like bidding and his bad guy stuff, and but she's made out of different parts of these very powerful people, and so she's kind of like a Frankenstein kind of thing, and she's not supposed to feel human emotion or anything like that, but she starts gaining that because, you know, doing the things that she has to do, which she has to collect pure souls and fulfilled human hearts, and the fulfilled human hearts are people who are madly in love. So she's going out destroying everything beautiful. So pure souls, children, human heart, you know, like fulfilled hearts, like love. And she starts like feeling emotion about these people that she has to go and kill, and she's questioning things why, and it just goes on from there as far as I can go without like getting really detailed. I can be here for hours.
So if somebody wants to learn more about your work, is there any social media? How can they find out more about this product that you have?
There's a Facebook page called The Creation of Facebook. Also, my email is desdemise@gmail.com. You can always email me and I can give you more information. But I also have a Twitter, Miss Desdemise at Twitter, and that's about it. I mean, also prontocomics.com.
Thank you very much. We really appreciate that, Des. And for Ben Raggington and the Two Gay Geeks, signing off for now.
That was a nice little conversation with a female creative.
It was nice to have a different point of view.
Exactly.
And I think one of the things that I really appreciated was the fact that she was able to address that she is not writing this all very light fantasy, you know,
Exactly.
with unicorns and you know, fairies and anything like that. I mean, she's writing a dark fancy
Exactly.
that has to do with like a Frankenstein type creation. I mean, that can be pretty grim even for some male writers, and yet at the same time give it a bit of a female twist. I think it's intriguing, and I would hope that we get to see more comic creators like her.
Yeah, I think we're probably going to see some at Phoenix Comic Con this year.
I think we will.
So the next person that we talked to was Danny Roberts, and how about that? It's the husband of Ann Roberts.
Imagine that.
Imagine that. He is with Atomic Comics, and he's just been doing this for a very short time, and we're going to let you hear his story.
And this is Ben Raggington again at the Comic Expo in Cottonwood, Arizona, and now I'm speaking to...
Hi, I'm Dan Roberts, and I am the creator of Atomic Comics.
What exactly is Atomic Comics for anybody who wants to know?
Well, Atomic Comics is a comic book that has a genre mixing of Western and sci-fi. So what I like to, I have two storylines. I have a storyline of little Martians living in the Old West that had integrated into the Old West. And the other storyline is Captain Cooper and Son, where it's an old cowboy who had been transported into the future and now living the life of a future rocket man.
I'm really curious about this second one. Now, I had the pleasure of actually being able to look at some of your panels. Now, there seems to be some kind of reality that's taking place in it that maybe fueled some of this content. What can you tell us about that?
Well, it started when my son and I started doing cosplay, and we made an old retro spaceman costume for the both of us. And as we were going around, people were going, well, what's your comic? And so we came up with Atomic Comics. The storyline is based a lot of the adventures him and I share and the conversations him and I share, only with dinosaurs and spaceships and whatnot.
Okay, so you're both you're writing and illustrating this Atomic Comics?
That is correct. He does a lot of the writing and the story ideas, and I do the illustrations, and from there the story continues to grow.
I'm fascinated with geek families. I love this idea. I mean, we had the pleasure of meeting your wife a little bit earlier. Has this shared experience, I mean, what has that done for you, your relationship with your son? I mean, does he feel like it's actually kind of giving you more common ground to build a nice relationship on?
Exactly. This cosplay and being part of the comic community has really encouraged all my sons. This is actually my youngest son and I have the adventures. My oldest son is now a scientist, and he develops what I can't say because he top secret stuff for the Navy. But from there, I like to think that sci-fi is where science dreams.
Fantastic. So, being that you're an independent creator, what are some of the challenges that you're presently facing? I mean, I assume you have a regular day job.
I do have a day job. I work nights, actually, so I call it my night day job. But the big challenge is finding time to get all this onto paper and all this published. Right now, you know, if I sit down and start drawing a panel and drawing a page and whatnot, I look at the clock and 12, 15 hours had gone by, and I've just been so absorbed into the storytelling aspect that that's my biggest challenge right now, is having time to do everything.
I can so relate with the stuff that we do. What has been the reception? How long have you been doing this, and how has it been received?
Well, I've actually been doing this since September, when we did a little mini Comic-Con at a church back then, and just threw out some ideas, and I got such positive feedback. It's really encouraged me to go ahead and continue and grow on that. And so it's really kind of starting to take a life of its own a little bit. So it's very inspiring for me and very inspiring for him to just continue to go and see how far we can take this.
So for anybody who wants to read Atomic Comics, where can they find it?
We have the domain of atomiccomics.com. They can go there and see the first issue of Atomic Comics, and we'll continue to post, and soon as we have that first issue completely published, we'll have the information on how to get a copy of it from there.
Well, I want to thank you very much. This was really interesting. Like I said, I've seen some of the panels already. I'm really intrigued. I want to read more. So I'll just say, for the Two Gay Geeks, this has been Raggington at the Comic Expo, signing off.
And that was kind of a nice little...
I was really intrigued with that one. And I had finally, well, later, and we'll talk about how we managed to do this, but I finally got to read the entire first story that he's drawn. And I was really tickled by it. There was just something that just felt kind of very old, very familiar, very family, but all in a really good way and still in a fun kind of nerdy comic way. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, it was really kind of neat. It was great to talk to him and see him interact with the people and interact with his son who was there.
Yeah, because
well,
they were both dressed in their characters for their Atomic Comics. It was a real treat. I was very moved by it.
Yeah, and our last interview that we did was with the author Daniel Franks.
He's kind of new to the game.
Yeah, let's give a listen to this interview with him.
And this is Ben Raggington again at the Comic Expo in Cottonwood, Arizona, and I have the pleasure of speaking to
Daniel Franks.
And what is it that you've brought to the Comic Expo today?
I got a couple things. I've got my novel that I'm serializing, which I was convinced to do by Dave Beatty and Jan of the Northern Arizona Comic Cartoonist Association. And then I've got a t-shirt for my podcast that I do, which is a role-playing podcast where we explore the multiverse of geek culture and multiple game systems.
Okay, so starting with the book, Now, I take it that you're not an author by profession, or you haven't been. Is that correct?
That's right. My day job is I'm an accountant.
Okay, so I love the idea that you decided that you wanted to write a book. What was it that made you say, I've got this thing inside of me. I really feel the need to have to write it. Could you tell us more about that? And could you tell us about the book itself?
Yeah. I mean, I've always been a writer, but mostly my creative outlet has been role-playing games. And one of the things that we want to do with the podcast is get more people into the hobby. And I always tell people it is, of anything you can do, it is the most creative thing because you can do everything. Art, drawing, you draw your characters, you draw maps, characterization for actors, it's great, and it's a great exercise for that. And then as a GM, you get more and more familiar with not only characterization, because you have to play everybody else in the world, but plot lines, how to structure a story, beginning, middle, and end. Although sometimes in a game, you don't want an end, so the end sort of goes into another beginning, and it becomes like a series TV. But the novel, I went to Comic-Con, I think it was 3 years ago now, and they have a writer's quest. And I went on that, and basically if you do so many of these panels that they have, you got a swag bag at the end. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And I had been playing with the idea of writing something. And I did the writer's quest, got the swag bag, and Sunday there was a special panel, $20 extra. And it's the best $20 I've ever spent. Michael Stackpole has a 30 Days to a Novel panel that he does almost every year that he's there. And I did that. And at the end of that, I said, I could do that. I bet I could do that. That was in June, and I started at the beginning of September, I think, and I had finished it by the end of September. And it was based on a short story I'd written 10 years prior to that, which is based on a role-playing game. It's a world that I had created and a character that I had created for that. But it wasn't his story of the role-playing game. I'd had a daughter in that time, and I decided that I wanted to write something that she could enjoy. We had been reading Rick Riordan's books, the Percy Jackson series, and it's sort of, adventure and Greek mythology, and my daughter was really into that. So I decided to write it as a coming-of-age story, because I felt that was a great way to not only cover stuff that's relevant for her, but also an interesting way to explore the world that I had created for the role-playing game. And so that's where it really grew out of. And the personal challenge, I think I can do it in 30 days. And then I did, and I was like, oh, done. And I've done a few short stories. I submitted one to a competition. It didn't win. It was probably too weird. But getting in touch with Dave and Jan really sort of kick-started me into getting it published. Dave was like, you could do it yourself. And I was like, I don't know. And I had really, the first time that I went to, it was sort of the inaugural meeting of the Cartoonists Association, and I was the only writer there. And I was like, okay. And I felt sort of out of place. But they're like, well, no. And I brought a few of my pieces that I have around my house that I've drawn, and a couple clay sculpture pieces. But yeah, I was the only writer, so I was sort of a fish out of water kind of a thing. But I'm also the only one who is professionally works with numbers in the state. So when it came around to do we incorporate how we do this, I was sort of the one talking about that. We were putting on, in October, we put on a show. And leading up to that, I was really involved in planning that one. It got down to it, and Dave and Jan looked at me and they said, are you going to have anything to sell? And I went, I could have something. And then it was an adventure of learning how to, of trying to get the art and learning how to work with the printer. And yeah, that was something else.
So because you're kind of new at this, I mean, I saw a panel with you a little earlier today, and without sounding denigrating any, so you're sort of the newbie at the table. You will probably have the freshest point of view as far as self-publishing goes. What sort of challenges have you had to face? I mean, because clearly now with independent work, I mean, it's so much more open now to be able to be a self-publisher and to do independent creation. What kind of challenges have you had to face in order to get your content out there?
Like I said in the panel, I've been the biggest challenge. Finding the time and like writing that novel in 30 days wasn't easy. It was 4 or 5 hours a night of sitting there. But as for getting stuff printed and everything, it was really easy. I mean, find a printer, you give them the PDF of whatever you have put together, and they print it for you. It's like magic.
So for anybody who wants to read what you have created, is there any way they can actually find you on social media or see your work there so that they can follow it and follow you?
Yeah, I'm on Facebook, Daniel Franks 90. We have a Facebook page for our podcast, Hit or Glitch. We're on YouTube. Imperator Productions is the channel. And we're going to be on Twitch as well. We're developing another show to put on that. So, yeah, once I got bit by the creative do-it-yourself bug, it's sort of snowballed into a host of media.
Well, Daniel, I want to thank you very much. This was very exciting. We're big supporters of independent creators. So thank you. And for the Two Gay Geeks, this has been signing off.
And that was the end of our interviews. There were a lot of people there that we really wanted to talk to, but
too many, in fact.
Didn't have enough time.
No, in fact, I'm going to be honest. When we went into this, I knew we would get a couple of interviews. I had no idea that it was going to sort of snowball.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting that. And I was happy that it did in a way.
Yeah, and we just kind of ran out of time. So, but there were a lot of people. I'm going to go down the list here in just a little bit of all the people that were there, just to give them a shout out. But we did also talk to a couple of other people. We talked to Dave Beatty, and he has worked for DC and Marvel. And he's
big time artist.
Also doing a comic book for a independent film.
The movie is called Occupants. This is an independent science fiction thriller. And the moment we heard about that, it's like our ears immediately opened. It was like, oh, independent sci-fi thriller. Okay.
Yeah.
And especially given that their lead actor is none other than the Hollow Doc himself, Robert Picardo.
Yeah.
O Suave Fanciulla.
Yes. Computer, delete the
diva.
Yes.
So the fact that he's doing it, of course, Robert's a huge supporter of independent films. He's always appearing in them, and I think that's probably his the thing he'll be remembered for most. So we attended this panel, and what's happening is that the writer and the producer for The Occupants, the producer is Eric Kask. They are working with Dave Beatty in an attempt to try to create. I don't call it it's not a spin-off, but
it's in conjunction.
It's in conjunction.
With,
it runs in parallel.
Yeah.
With this film, Occupants. Now, wow, we're going to have a link for this on our website. We're going to have two rather interesting links for this because they ran it. I wouldn't call it a trailer.
Yeah, it was kind of a what would you call it?
I'm not sure, but I was very intrigued. I will say this. A good deal of this movie deals with the Peterson Research Institute. It's a fictitious institute that they handle or deal with people that are trying to cope with man, how would you describe it without spoiling it?
I don't know.
Breakdown in reality, almost.
Yeah.
I mean, not psychological, but almost like people experiencing parallel universes of a sort. So there's this website, Peterson Research Institute, and there's all these videos, and it's all these testimonials that we saw at the expo of people who were experiencing some kind of glitch as they were watching television. They experienced something and saw a really unusual breakdown in reality where things appear to be different than how they understand it to be. And that's really the thrust of this independent film. I'm intrigued.
It looks fascinating.
I am very intrigued.
It's going to premiere at Phoenix
It will
Comic-Con
premiere at Phoenix Comic-Con.
Festival.
The writer, Russell, I think it's Russell. Is that his name?
I don't recall.
He's going to be there.
Yep.
I know
as
that.
As well as Eric. I think Dave Beatty.
I believe Dave Beatty will be there.
And a couple of other people, I think.
Hopefully we'll get to have a a more
A
meaningful
round table with them.
conversation with
Yeah.
them while we were at Comic-Con in June. I'm looking forward to that. But this looks really exciting.
Yeah,
I'm
kinda
quite intrigued with it.
fascinated.
They already met their crowdfunding. In fact, they exceeded their crowdfunding.
Yeah, for both the movie and for the
And for the comic book.
Yeah,
So they've already got the money that they're going to pay Dave to do his portion of this. Wow. Exciting.
yeah,
Very exciting. I look forward to seeing this one.
yeah. I'm really excited about that. Another person that we talked to was Russ Kazmierzak.
Well, I remember
Yeah.
he said his name is like Kashmir Zach.
Yeah,
He described it as like the material Kashmir with Zach at the end. So Kashmir Zach.
Yep. So he's with Amazing Arizona Comics, and we got to see some of his work as well while he was there and talked to him. And we're going to talk about something else that Russ turned us on to. But really nice guy. And
Very nice guy. He likes to take science fiction ideas, but use present day topical issues to throw in there. And
kinda fun.
I wish we could have had the time to talk to him, but I mean, he had to get back down to Phoenix. We had to come back down here to Phoenix.
And there just wasn't enough time.
Just wasn't enough time because there were so many questions that I really wanted to ask him about
Yeah.
how working on these stories, how that might have evolved his thinking. It just seemed really interesting. And I got to see some of his artwork at a little place that we will mention during this show.
Well,
but
it was at Fire Mountain Winery.
Fire Mountain Winery.
They had there was a display of several of the
local artists.
Local artists there, Russ and Janimal and Dave Beatty and
Daniel.
I don't think so.
Yeah, actually.
Daniel Franks?
No, not Dan Franks. Danny Roberts.
Danny Roberts. And
yeah, because I got
and a couple of others, and I can't remember who all it was, but it was really at Fire Mountain Winery. They graciously opened two of their little rooms to the what did they call it? Oh shoot! It was an art show, I guess.
Okay.
Anyway, so at Fire Mountain Winery, I just want to give them a shout out on that, and I want to read the names of all of the people that were in the room there for this Verde Valley Comics Expo, and like I said, we really wanted to talk to a number of people, but there just wasn't enough time. So we had Jim Hanna, Merritt Michaels, Michael Gallagher, Brianna Brock, the Justice League of Arizona cosplayers, Al Sparrow, Dave Beatty, the Janimal, Des Demise, Russ Kazmierzak, and Randy Lapham, Daniel Franks, Danny Roberts, Stephen Reed, Eric Kask, Daniel Bedford, Heroes and Villains of Tomorrow, Drawn to Comics, Ryan Comstock Murray, The Art Store, Cab Comics, Tom Filzinger of Filzinger Games, Scott Sheehy of Tribe Comics, Monster Comics, Russ Miller, Heather Littlejohn, Cottonwood Public Library, Samurai Comics, Ricky Killingsworth, Floyd Bauer, Art Warriornia. Wow.
Well, I'll take your word for that.
I apologize. And Joya Oboya face painting. Those were all of the vendors and talent there at the Verde Valley Comic Expo.
I have every expectation that it will only get bigger and better in the years to come.
Yeah, and that was our Saturday.
Hi, I'm Patricia Chica, director producer of Morning After.
And I'm Christian Hotko, writer and actor of Morning After. And you're listening to the Two Gay Geeks podcast.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the birthday music. Here are a few selected birthdays for April 11th through April 17th, 2016. April 11th, Joel Gray. April the 12th, Tiny Tim. And David Letterman. How about that? I think David Letterman had Tiny Tim on his show.
Actually, it was Johnny Carson.
Oh, it was Johnny Carson, right. And then also on April 12th, David Cassidy.
Keith Partridge.
And Ed O'Neill. Montserrat Caballé and Maria Callas.
Wow.
Shared the
Two
same
power sopranos.
birthdays. Amazing. And Ann Miller.
Who's Ann Miller?
Leave this house.
Yes.
April 13th, Peter Davison, Ron Perlman, and Jonathan Brandis. He was in Sequest DSV. And this is a perfect time to talk about the fact that we have the suicide prevention line on our website, as well as the Trevor Project. Unfortunately, a young man killed himself, and it's never...
No, it's always tragic when that happens.
It's always tragic. So if you're thinking about that...
Or if you know someone.
Or you know someone, seek help. It gets better. So, enough of that. April 13th also is Don Adams, Eric Avari.
I love him.
Yeah, Bonnie Way. And Ricky Schroeder.
I think, I don't know if he's actually taken back Ricky.
I think he's taken Ricky back.
I think he's taking Ricky back.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Also, Bill Conti.
Stickman.
He's also a movie
composer.
Yeah, a lot of stuff. It's amazing. Also, Thomas Jefferson on April 13th. April 14th, Peter Capaldi and Claire Coffey.
Claire Coffey!
Yeah, from
Grimm.
Yeah.
I really want to talk to her again.
Yeah, that would be fun.
She's awesome.
Yeah. Also, April 14th, Sir John Gielgud, America's favorite old fart.
Yes.
Most of our comments.
Actually, I don't think. Actually, he's not America's favorite old fart. That was somebody else.
No, it was John Gielgud.
No, there was somebody else in Scrooged. John Gielgud was. I don't think there was. No, John Gielgud, if I'm not mistaken, was in that art. Oh man, now I'm going blank.
Oh well. Anyway, moving on. April 15th, Emma Watson, Maisie Williams, and Emma Thompson. 2 Emmas on the 15th.
Yes.
Elizabeth Montgomery. How about that?
Mm-hmm.
She twitched her nose there.
There it was.
And Hans Conried.
Oh, I loved him.
Yeah. Moose and Squirrel.
Yes.
Boris Badenov.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
Also,
I'm never gonna live that one down.
Yeah. April 15th, also Leonardo da Vinci. April 16th, Peter Billingsley, Henry Mancini, and Donna Tomasi.
Yes, the Mrs. Technorama?
Mrs. Technorama, yes. How about that? April 17th, we have Luke Mitchell, who's from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Right.
Logan?
Wow, now I've gone blank on that one.
Yeah, anyway. And also David Bradley. And that's it for the birthdays this time.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Hey, this is Crazy Joe. And this is Dave, hosts of Megapodzilla, the podcast equivalent to a 100-foot radioactive robot lizard, but with horn-rimmed glasses and a pocket protector. That's nerdy. We're on the rampage, laying waste to the geek landscape. We'll talk movies, TV, comics, toys, video games. And sometimes we talk turkey. Don't you mean chicken? That's right. So check us out at megapodzilla.com. We're also available on iTunes and the Zune Marketplace. Aw, yeah.
And go give a listen to our friend Crazy Joe over at Megapodzilla. The only reason I ran that, and he's promised to give us a new bumper someday.
Really?
But because they have a new episode out. So
that's
check
true.
out Megapodzilla. And now, It's listener feedback time.
Listener feedback time. And before we do, I want to say America's favorite old fart is John Houseman.
Oh, John Houseman. Okay.
Yes, John
Okay,
Feelgood. Yeah,
sorry.
he's a different, more dignified actor. He was in the movie Arthur and won an Academy Award for that.
Right. Okay.
Anyhow.
Anywho.
I got some feedback here. I'm going to try and fly through this as quickly as I can. We got something, as always, from Brian Arkle-Weber, and he gave us some feedback. It's in regards to the epic feedback we had about The Tick from episode 66. And he simply writes, I'm sure a bunch of people have already messaged you, but just in case, The Tick actually did start as a comic, a black and white comic from a small publisher, before it was a cartoon series. However, the comic had the same goofy tone as the animated series did. Well, Brian, you're the first to tell us, so bravo to you. And also, feedback regarding episode 66, we got something from Gary Lindros, and he's commenting in regards to all the contributors in last episode's feedback, and he says, your contributors read like a Slice Hall of Fame. Yes, it did.
Yes, they do.
Yes,
sometimes.
it did. And got a response also from Tom Alred Gulbranson, and he wrote, watched Batman vs. Superman. Not sure I'll buy the extended Blu-ray at all now. Your review of the film, spot on. Smiley face. I read all the comics this film was based on and don't remember bats having visions. Either way, Gal Gadot and that last fight, wow! The whole movie should have been as much fun. Lex? Maybe should have been the Joker. That would have fit better. Still not the worst movie I've seen. That prize goes to my used DVD purchase, Hirokin, The Last Samurai. Twice I've desperately tried to watch it to the end. Personal record is 55 minutes. It's that boring. Thank you, Tom. We will know never to watch that film.
Yeah.
And we got a lovely response from Claire O'Leary. And she writes, just listening to this week's episode, it appears my Irish sarcasm came across as a wee bit mean. I was only teasing Joe, smiley face. I remember going to see Green Lantern with a friend who was a huge Lantern fan. He teared up at what they did to his lantern. It took a fair few drinks afterward to make him feel better. And last week, we ran a story about how there is going to be, well, some time ago, we ran a story about how there is going to be a spinoff to Doctor Who simply called Class, and it's all about the students at Coal Hill High. And in last week's story, we actually ran the cast. We have an article on that, and you can see that in our show notes for this website, or for this episode. And got a comment from Darren Anderson, and he simply writes, now we know it's real. But then he added something I didn't know. BBC 3 is now an online station only. BBC pulled the plug on the TV station this year, and it can only be seen as an on-demand service.
Wow, interesting.
Oh, no. I didn't, which kind of, okay, now that makes everything that they put there, makes me kind of wonder how much they really put a lot of stock into that or not. And then also last week, we ran a story about how BBC One is looking to do an adaptation of His Dark Materials by Philip Pullman. Now, in 2007, there was a movie that was released. It's the first book of the His Dark Materials saga, and it was called The Golden Compass. Yes, we remember that dog, don't we? Well, in any case, apparently BBC One is going to adapt the entire series for their network. And Hamish Downey simply writes, I really enjoyed that film, so I would be curious to see what happens. Now, if you want to know more about this adaptation, once again, go to our show notes. You can read it all there. And then last week, we also ran an article about how Patricia Chica's A Tricky Treat, her lovely little horror short, is going to be screening at or has screened at the Phoenix Film Festival. Yeah. And we got a response from Patricia, and she says, I loved it. Thanks, TG Geeks. You are both amazing. Kiss, hug, kiss, love. And also, because of all the really bizarre fallout from Batman vs. Superman, we ran a story about how will Warner Brothers actually hold back on future films? Once again, that story will be in our show notes. And Mike Hickerson. Oh, by the way, Michael, congratulations on the new child. We're really happy for you.
Yeah.
Anyway, Hicks left us this message saying, I read an article that said there were execs at Warner's worried about how Snyder was leading the DC universe, but yet they were afraid to replace him. So we're going to keep heading toward the cliff then?
Yeah, until you fall over.
No comment. And then in the same vein, we got a message from Sean from Edwards, SF Edwards, as he's known on Facebook. And he simply writes, meanwhile, the DC TV universes are killing it. Once
Yeah.
again, as I've said, DC works better on the small screen or animated.
Yep.
No argument. And then last week, if you haven't seen it on our website, you may have seen it elsewhere, the first real trailer for Rogue One, A Star Wars Story, was released. We ran that on our website, and we got a response from Scott Purdy, and he wrote, I'm against the idea of in-betweequels. Ooh, that was a mouthful.
Yeah.
But I was against the idea of Gotham, and it's my favorite DC show on TV, and I didn't care about another Mad Max movie, and that was my favorite movie of 2015. The trailer makes me think this might be another instance where it's fun to be wrong. Could not agree more. I will simply say that, boy, when I saw that trailer, I was uberly excited. And we also got a fun message from Kurt Armbruster, another slice of sci-fi Hall of Famers in terms of feedback, and he wrote, many Bothans died making this film, probably because Han shot them first.
Of course.
Probably. And then we also got a response from Patricia Cheek again. This is in regards to our last episode, episode 67, where we interviewed her and Christian Hodko for their film The Morning After. And she wrote, loved the whole episode. You are the best. It's such a great interview. So much was said. I laughed so much when I listened to it. So good. Thank you so very much. Well, you are so very welcome.
Yeah.
And then lastly, we got also a message from Christian Hodko. And he simply shared it with the rest of the cast. And he did so by saying, Thomas Eric Valliere, Luca Aslan, Christina Rosado, Zoe DGM, you're all mentioned in this, you lovely people. Love. And that is our feedback.
That's our feedback this week. Epic again. And we just want to say about our comments, we want to hear from you, our listeners. You are important to us. Let us know what you think of the show or articles we run on the website. Just a reminder, please play nice so we don't have to edit or delete your feedback. You can also look us up on Facebook as TG Squared Studios, where you can comment on our episodes or articles. You can comment on our YouTube episodes or at tggeeks.com. And you could receive a shout out on a future episode as all these other people have. You can also call our listener feedback line and we'll play your comment on air. 469 TG Geeks. That is 469-844-3357.
Hi, this is Ginny Koch, author of the Alien Catherine Kitty Cat series from Daw Books, part of Penguin Random House, and you are listening to the Two Gay Geeks Webcast.
Well, we got a couple things we want to cover. Something unusual happened. Now, for people who may remember, on our last episode, episode 67, where we interviewed Patricia and Christian.
Yeah, special episode.
Special episode. There was supposed to be an Indiegogo campaign to help fund that film Morning After. It was supposed to go live that very day, and it didn't.
Yeah, something happened. We're not real sure what, but just we want to keep checking with them. It is coming soon.
Yeah,
I think that
we
we're
saw
trying to line
something
up some
they're looking
additional pieces to incorporate in that.
We saw something on Facebook yesterday. They're actually looking to somebody else to help manage that. I don't know if they're going to be acting as an intermediary between them and Indiegogo or not, but once we know something, we will share it with all of you.
And that brings us to the last thing. It was while we were talking to Russ at the
at the Comic Expo.
Comic Expo, he mentioned since he's a local here in Phoenix, he mentioned that he was going to be doing a talk show,
sort of a talk show podcast kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
it's at Space 55 here in Phoenix, and it was at 10:30, and he's doing it once a month, and also showing it on
shows on YouTube,
publishing it on YouTube, and it was really kind of an interesting little thing. We actually went to it, and it's only $5.
Yeah,
so it's a small venue, but it's a great little thing. You know,
and he
they
likes
have
to really
shows all day long.
Yeah, he really likes to spotlight a lot of local talent.
Yeah, and so we got to got to see Brian Augustin, Hattie Jean Hayes, The Rock.
And we're not talking The Rock as in the
No.
WWE wrestler. No, this is a DJ for
local DJ.
for 101.5, I believe is the station.
Yeah, 101.1.
101.1, that's it.
Yeah. So, and also then Rock had brought in a hip-hop artist, and Blaine Coffey, and he did a couple of pieces and did a couple of interviews with Brian and Hattie Jean Hayes as well as Rock, and it was really kind of a neat little thing.
He was really trying to bring back the old Tonight Show kind of feel. In fact, a lot of it felt like the old Jay Leno show.
Yeah, yeah. So
it was amusing. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And I mean, had some little contests for some of the people who were there. I mean, one fun part was he would rattle off a movie title because apparently Harrison Ford has done a plethora of garbage. As has Steven Seagal. So he got 2 volunteers from the audience, and there was a contest to this. He would rattle off a title, and you had to determine, was it Steven Seagal who did it, or was it Harrison Ford? And I actually thought, I'll volunteer for this because I'll ace it. Oh boy, am I glad I did not.
Yeah, it was
Man, there was some movies that were so unbelievably obscure that I would have choked. It was interesting. I kind of enjoyed it.
Yeah,
it was fun.
Yeah, we might have to do it next month whenever it rolls around.
Yeah, and it was nice that he was able to do something to spotlight the local artists. And I think for me, obviously the big highlight was Brian Augustine, because he's worked on a number of things. Probably his best known work is I want to get the
Gotham by Gaslight.
Gotham by Gaslight is what it is, and that's one of these alternate reality kind of situations where what happens if the Batman lived during Victorian era London?
Yeah,
during the time of Jack the Ripper.
He was also big on the Flash. And, a number of other things. So, and we got to talk to him for just a few minutes after the show. So it was really kind of neat, and it was kind of a neat little thing to.
Yeah, I had a good time.
Just take part in.
Yeah.
So we also have follow-up items, as always. We want to have the new independent film to support. The Indiegogo campaign for Morning After is coming soon from Patricia Chica and Kristen Hodko. And as soon as we have the live link, we will share it with you. Also, Phoenix Comic-Con continues to announce guests. They added Alan Dean Foster and Michael Stackpole. Of course, they're 2 locals. They usually come there. So they continue to release names, and as we get closer, the bigger the names are going to be.
Yeah, the really hot names will come in even up to 2 weeks before the con actually takes place.
Yeah, and hotel rooms are still available. Memberships are on sale through the end of April. They are $60 for a full membership all 4 days. So that's through the end of April. So grab them now. Keep checking PhoenixComicCon.com for updates. And they also announced that FanFest 16 will be in October 22nd and 23rd, downtown Phoenix Convention Center. More information after the June event.
And we want to give a shout out to the Doctor Who Fancast Guide. They are Doctor Who Talking Who on Twitter. You can read the Fancast Guide, who they'd love to republish our stories, and we love them for doing that. And you can do that by going to Twitter and searching out @TalkingWho. And as always, we must give a special shout out to good friend Brian Weber, Arkle, because he puts out the Arkle Times Post Dispatch News, which also recirculates our stories, or a good deal of them. And you can find him on Twitter. He is known as Social Justice Scald, and you can search him out by looking for @Arkle, ARKLE. And he also has a presence on Tumblr, where he has the incorrect Star Trek Voyager quotes, not safe for work, so watch it in the privacy of your own home. And if anybody out there, if you know some incorrect Star Trek Voyager quotes that he doesn't have listed, get in touch with him. I'm sure he would like to know what they are.
Yes. And we want to give a shout out to The Lookie Show, the twins, Sasha and Dagmar.
We love them.
We love them, and they are so much fun. Look them up on Twitter at Lookie Show, and catch their YouTube episodes as Lookie Show. If you like old movies and campy commentary.
And puppets.
This show is for you.
And we have to give a shout out to our favorite Facebook group, The Gay Geek, because they allow us to post our episodes on their page.
But that's not the only reason.
Well, no, it's our favorite group because it happens to be the group with the best group of people I can imagine and some of the most entertaining posts anybody could ever want to read. I mean, there's some great stuff, just fabulously great content there, and that is why it's our favorite group. And again, they allow us to post our content there. Compliments of the High Imperial Potentate. His name is Jeremiah Reeves, and you can go to that page by going to facebook.com/groups/thegaygeek.
And lastly, we want to say something about the Amazon ads we've been running. Please consider clicking on the ads every so often. It tells Amazon that we're getting traffic, and the good thing is you don't have to buy anything. But if you do, please use one of our links. It helps us out. Thank you. Up next time, who knows?
No idea, because
we never know.
We never know. I mean, we had no idea we were going to be going up to Cottonwood before this show. It just happened to work out that way.
Yeah. Okay, that should do it for this episode of TG Geeks Webcast. Be sure to check out the article for this webcast episode. We're going to have several links on the page about things we talked about. And remember, you can comment on our Facebook page or website, tggeeks.com, or you can leave us a voicemail at 469-TG-GEEKS. That's 469-844-3357. From TG Squared Studios, I am Keith Lane. Thanks for listening. I bid you peace.
Cheers.